Abnormal Andy and Phantom Dark Dave. The Screaming Skull Podcast.
Welcome to the Screaming Skull Podcast, a place where horror fans can feel at home. My name is Abnormal Andy. Joining me today on this episode is my faithful co-host, Phantom Dark Dave. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man, but I gotta be honest. Today really stunk, you know why?
Why is that?
Because it rained all day, and I hate that.
Oh, man. So you have to be out driving in it and stuff?
Yes, and I drive through Dallas a lot, and people do not know how to drive in Dallas, and I'm used to it, but it doesn't make it any better. And, you know, when it's raining, it's cool to be, like, in the house and watching horror movies or sleeping, then the rain's perfect. But if you have to work in it, it sucks.
Yeah, no, it's awful. Yeah, if you have to drive around in it and stuff and deal with other people, man, yeah.
Parking, man, get out of here. But outside of that, is a pretty good day because I get to come home and do this podcast.
Hell yeah, man. This is going to be a fun episode. To kind of give everybody a brief rundown, we're going to do some horror news, of course, as we always do. And then for our main event, we're going to do something a little bit different this episode. We're going to do a top 5 list. We each have created a top 5 list, and it's going to be top 5 movies that take place in a big city. And so for me, like, I kind of laid out this was my idea, so everybody can blame me if this episode sucks, but I think it's going to be fun. But some of the ground rules I laid out for Dave was, like, it's got to be skyscrapers, subways, and sewers. Those are kind of my three categories that usually show up in, like, big city horror movies. So, you know, like for instance, like The Exorcist could be considered a big city horror movie, but that basically just takes place in somebody's house, so you don't really get that big city feel with it. So I limited myself to stuff that featured those things in them. So you know, there's some of those aspects that make you feel like you're in a big city, because a lot of times the horror is set in, like, these remote, out of the way places like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Wrong Turn. These, like, just, you're, like, in the forest, like Blair Witch Project.
Okay, don't go too far into it, because if this episode's a hit and we need to do a, top 5 horror movies not in the big city, you're giving away all my list right there. You know what's funny, man? I told a couple people that we were doing this episode, but I think Julie was the absolute most excited for it, because she pulled me to the side and she was just like, I'm so done with the magical horror movies. And I was like, I think we are too, man. This was the break we needed.
Yeah, for sure, man.
It's funny.
I think this is a nice change of pace for us.
And this was your idea. I was so happy. Like, I love doing top 5s, and I think you like doing them, but I think it's obvious I like them more than you, because I'm always bugging you about wanting to do them. And when you used to come on my old podcast I did before we re-teamed up, it was always for top 5 stuff. And so I didn't, I feel like I've done several top 5s, but this is a topic I've never covered. But, I was like, okay, dude, like, can we do something different? Let's do a top 5. Do you have an... I had no expectation. I didn't know what you were going to say, and I was just ready for whatever. And you were like, top 5 horror movies in the big city. I was blown away, because there's a couple of movies that, like, immediately came to mind. I was like, I'm going to start writing my list down. But when I sat down and I really thought about it, and then I was like, what are the ground rules? And you kind of you laid it out just now. It got really fun, and it got really, like, it was a good challenge. I'll say it that way.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be cool to hear your list and see if we have any crossover.
Well, see,
so
here's the deal. Yeah. I told Julie, I was like, look, I know Andy really well. He's one of my best buds, and I know a certain movie or two that have to be on his list due to this topic. And those are some of my favorites also, but I don't want to have the same movies. So I put it on myself as a challenge to come up with some other movies. The problem was I went so obscure that I found a whole bunch of movies that totally fit this topic, but I did not care about the movie. And I was like, damn it. She's like, what's wrong? And I was like, well, I don't want to have too many crossovers with Andy, but I don't want to talk about this movie. And she's like, who cares? Do the movies you love. And I said, you know what?
Yeah.
Fine, so be it. So I put a couple of movies back at the top of my list, and I am going to predict that we have to have some crossover, because I think there's a couple of movies that you and I both love to death, and I would be really disappointed if we didn't have them in crossover. And so I did one honorable mention and a top 5, and just like you said, I'm excited to see your list too.
Yeah, I got one honorable mention as well. So yeah, awesome. So we both have some great lists, man. So I'm excited to hear it. But first up, some horror news.
Horror news.
All right, Andy. So some of the things I love to cover with horror news are movies that are playing in theater as well as movies that come out on physical format. And, it's kind of crazy because there's been a couple of movies that I've been kind of excited to see, but for the most part, I'm kind of not paying attention until the summer. Then there's some big ones coming out. But when I went to look at some of the movies that are out, I was kind of blown away that there was a handful of horror movies in theater. On past episodes, we talked about like The Woman in the Yard and, well, Until Dawn has come out recently. And I don't know much about the video game. Did you ever play any of those games or...
No.
Okay, I got some friends who know about it, and I think out of my big friend group here in Dallas, I'm the one who's not a gamer. I'm also the oldest one in the group. That's kind of awkward, right? That's how that works out. But, it's doing all right because it debuted this past weekend. It had a budget of about $15 million. It has recouped that budget, and it's sitting pretty comfortable at about $18.5 million. So that's not bad for a one weekend to try to recoup your budget. I don't know how much more money went into like promotions because I feel like I saw that trailer all the time. Did you see that trailer a lot?
I saw it whenever I would go see a movie in the theater. I feel like I would see that trailer.
Okay.
But I only saw like one or two movies in the theater during that time, so I may have just saw it like twice, probably total.
Well, I feel like my biggest streaming apps are probably Paramount Plus and Tubi, and I keep saying and Pluto, like those three all around. And I feel like the Until Dawn trailer played all the time. I can't remember which streaming service played it, but I got bombarded with it for a while, and so it's kind of deep in my mindset. But I checked it out on IMDb. It has an average score at a 6 out of 10, so I'm thinking, maybe word of mouth will get out, and it'll make even more next weekend.
Yeah, it has some competition. I mean, so we'll see. There's some other big movies in the theater right now, so I think maybe they could have released it at a different time or something, and maybe try to do a little better with it. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see that 6 out of 10 for a horror movie. That's a pretty good score on IMDb. So it sounds like people are liking it.
Do you think that like $15 million, $16 million budget is good for a horror movie, or would you consider that high or low?
I would say it's probably mid-range for a horror movie. I mean, you got a lot of the Blumhouse movies that have like single-digit $1 million budgets, like $5 million. That's kind of their sweet spot, is to turn $5 million into like $35 million, at the box office. So yeah, like $15 million, I think that's a decent like mid-range budget, and so that leads me to believe there's probably some decent special effects. Hopefully there, especially with the stuff I saw in the preview. It definitely looks like there's going to be some like cool effects there with that movie.
And it's rated R too, so maybe they'll have some good death scenes.
Yeah. So, I know you're a big fan of Aladdin. So,
oh no,
I saw this movie pop up, or this headline pop up, and it got my attention. It says, "Aladdin the Monkey's Paw: The Aladdin Story Gets Its Own Unofficial Horror Movie." So Dave's shaking his head.
All right.
It says the latest film to turn a popular child's property into a twisted nightmare is the upcoming Aladdin the Monkey's Paw, which was announced over on Deadline. So the director is going to be Bradley Stryker, who directed Terrifier 3, and he's also starring in the film. Oh wait, no, Bradley Stryker is from Terrifier 3. I don't think he directed. Obviously, Damien Leone.
I was gonna say, okay.
But Bradley Stryker from Terrifier 3 is both directing and starring in the film. And says it's said to be the movie's said to be a dark supernatural reimagining of the Aladdin story. Saying a modern day Londoner, Aladdin, inherits an ancient monkey's paw believed to grant wishes, only to discover that every desire comes at a soul crushing price. It says, as those around him fall victim to its curse, he must confront a growing evil and the demonic force that feeds on every wish made. So we've got some of the actors are Nick Sager from Queen of the South, Ricky Norwood from EastEnders, and Montana Manning from Tell Me Everything. Star in the movie. The director says this film would be so much fun. It's all about the peaks and valleys, the highs of lows, and what we deem our dreams and desires. And then we slam that into a genre film in which the stakes have never been more diabolical and entertaining. He goes on to say, we always wanted to explore horror through a personal lens, not just the scares, but the human cost of wishes. Writer Charlie McDougall adds in his own statement. He says, this story's been haunting us for a while, and it's time to let it loose. The best horror films haunt you long after the credits roll. That's what the story does. It's sharp, emotional, and full of dread in all the right ways. We're not just making another horror film, we're building a world around a truly iconic concept. The paw, the mythology, the characters, it's all there. The classic Disney animated film Aladdin is based in the Arabic folktale from 1001 Nights. Anyway, so it says, much like Pooh and Steamboat Willie, that means Disney can't come after anyone who wants to do whatever the hell they want with the source material. So, so that's interesting. They're mixing Aladdin with the monkey's paw. I don't
That is weird.
quite understand that. So, anyway, yeah, I'm sure that you're kind of like, what? Like,
I think I understand how people feel now when something that they love gets done. Like a lot of people weren't too thrilled to hear that they took their Winnie the Pooh, something they loved as a kid, and they turned it into a horror franchise. Like, I literally had heard remarks of people being pretty upset about it. I like Winnie the Pooh, but I guess I didn't hold it as near and dear. And so when I heard that Winnie the Pooh was killing people, I was like, cool, let's see it. But man, you're talking about my Aladdin. Like, I don't know, that doesn't sit right with me. But even if it did, I think I'd want a killer djinn story. Like, you better give me a killer genie.
yeah, that's, I mean,
Don't take that away, because that could have been the coolest part of your movie.
yeah, and I mean, we kind of got that with Wishmaster, I guess. So,
Yeah, but still, I mean, that was over 20 years ago.
yeah.
Episode people can check it on the podcast if they've never seen it. But, I know it's probably not a musical, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, probably not, yeah.
See, it's already wrong. All right. So, Andy, another
Yes.
movie that's in theaters right now, you know it really well. It's Sinners, and it's been out for a couple of weeks, and I would say it's doing pretty well. It had, we just talked about a movie that was made on $15 million budget. Sinners had a $90 million budget, but no fear, because even with that big budget, it still has brought in over $168 million. Now, all I know is what I've seen on the previews of TV, but my man, you actually saw this one in theater.
I did. I went this last weekend and saw it, and I have to say it's pretty stinking good. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It definitely reminds me of some other movies that I've seen, and I don't know, like, I don't want to get too much into spoilers, so I'll just leave it at that. I know other people have complained. I've heard complaints that it's kind of slow going, that it starts off kind of slow. It's okay. Like, for me, that wasn't a big deal because I thought the story was entertaining. I was really into the characters. Michael B. Jordan plays twin brothers, and I really like that. He's a good actor, and so he really carries the film, even though the two twin brothers are not the main characters of the movie. They really do carry the movie because it kind of revolves around a different character, but without Michael B. Jordan, it wouldn't be the same movie for sure. But it's really cool. I mean, it touches on a lot of things. You got kind of like some folk horror type stuff going on. You got, you got this folklore behind what's going on in the movie, but then you got the vampires and stuff like that. So, a lot of cool. Just there's some cool effects. The movie, I saw it on IMAX, and I think if you are gonna go see it, definitely go check it out on IMAX or something like that. It looks really good. The way the cinematography is really good. Just the effects and everything. It just feels like a really cool experience.
So I had a friend go see it, and I told you what he said, and then you were like, "Yeah, that sounds about right." So I'm gonna flip this and ask you a question. Would I be doing myself a disservice if I did not see it in the theater?
No, if you just can't make it, or if you're not into or if you don't want to, that's fine too. I mean, it's going to be a good experience, no matter where you see it. But it is really cool to see it on the big screen, though.
All right.
So it's interesting. So the director said two of it, and I don't know if this is really going to be spoilers, but
If it's
I'll say
spoilery, don't do it.
okay, because the director did talk about two of his biggest influences for the film, but I won't say them here. It's just so it's not a potential spoiler. Let's see
Casablanca and what else?
here. Yeah. So there's one musical piece like in the middle of the movie that's a really like, well, there's a couple of scenes that are like musical set pieces basically. So for these two scenes, there's a lot of like visuals and it's really cool. Oh, so this is the second R-rated horror film to be shot in IMAX film cameras after Nope from 2022.
So good.
That's cool.
Yeah. Speaking of, I'm still waiting for Jordan Peele's next movie. I think it's going to be like December next year. Like, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 2026, I think.
Okay. You know, Doug Jones. He's a pretty well-known name in the horror movie sphere. So he is doing a new movie called The Weeping. So the horror film revolves around a group of friends who go camping in a protected Native American forest and unwittingly wake up an ancient witch that haunts all who trespass. So Reggie Lee from Grimm stars. Chase Damore, Isabel Hahn from VHS 99, Jordan Kennedy and Craig, last name is spelled NG, from Big Trouble in Little China. It's probably an Asian name. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Huh.
Spider Dabrowski, whose previous film Down Below also features Doug Jones, writes and directs for the feature. They're saying The Weeping is one of several horror films Jones has in the pipeline, including The Remedy and If It Bleeds. So I guess there's some other movies. That's really the only information I have on it right now. It has a kind of a cool movie poster.
Yeah.
But
it kind of gives me vibes of something that Guillermo del Toro would do or something.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of cool to see what that what that's gonna be like whenever we get more information on that.
All right, and as I mentioned, there was quite a few movies in theater, but there's some more that are coming out and debuting at home for those who still collect physical format. We have Lucio Fulci's The Beyond is getting a 4K Blu-ray. We've talked a little bit about Lucio Fulci, but are you a fan?
Yeah, I like Fulci.
I like The Black Cat. That was a cool one.
I'm trying to remember if I've seen that one or not.
That's a good one. You should check that one out.
Yeah.
Back in the old days of Black Cat Shadow, we actually sent Brian that Blu-ray. Remember that? He had won the contest. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
You should have watched it first.
Yeah.
Why is this open?
We had a couple of contests. I remember. Yeah, that was some good times there.
That was some good times. Maybe we'll get into doing that here. But Lucio Fulci, man, people know that name. Italian filmmaker, falls right up there with Dario and stuff, and also like with George A. Romero too, because he does a lot of zombie stuff. But some pretty cool graphic horror films, and I think he's got like the Gates of Hell trilogy, if I'm not mistaken. But I got one more for you. Another Blu-ray that has recently came out is another one that, if I'm not mistaken, I think you saw in theater as well, and that's Heart Eyes. Yeah,
I did see that, and that was really cool.
That's a slasher, right?
Yeah, it's a slasher. It's a Valentine's Day slasher. So it's just it's a fun movie. It really kind of does lean into some of the comedy, and even like aspects of like romantic comedy. So it's kind of a weird. It's kind of a mixture maybe you don't expect, but there's enough horror and action to like it would really kept me entertained, and so I really liked it. I thought it was cool.
Would you put it in the same vein as like a Happy Death Day to You type deal, where it's horror comedy mixed?
Well, seeing as I haven't seen Happy Death Day.
Damn it, you still haven't watched these? Hey, I know what you're watching on May 23rd, bro.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good, man. You're going to have to finally get me to watch those, yeah.
Andy comes to Dallas. He watches the Happy Death Day franchise. We'll have to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, like from the trailer, I would say it's probably comparable to that, yeah.
Okay, cool. And it seems like that's kind of the thing. Like, growing up, there might have been a couple of horror comedies, but horror comedy didn't seem as big as it is today.
Yeah, you don't really.
Like Freaky and all that kind of stuff. Even the Screams kind of have a comical bit to them now.
Yeah, it's like kind of like you had some like dark comedies come out, but they weren't like full on horror. But so I got one last story here. Zach Krieger, he did Barbarian, and he's got a new movie coming out. It's called Weapons, and it's Zach Krieger's follow up after Barbarian. And so they came out with this. They got this like. Well, it's interesting. They have kind of a cool marketing thing going on because they actually set up a website for it, but also they just put out this teaser. And I actually saw this teaser in the movie theater when I went and saw Center, so it was really cool. So basically, the setup for the movie is children are leaving their house in the middle of the night, and it's freaking parents out. So basically, the kids just like leave their house of their own accord. And so like these kids are just running through the streets in their pajamas in the middle of the night, so it's kind of creepy. So it's set to come out August 8th.
So the whole trailer is just a whole bunch of kids in their pajamas running.
Yeah, that's kind of the teaser, but I think they actually released an actual trailer for it now. And this movie, it stars Josh Brolin. That's cool.
Okay.
Julia Garner. So that's cool. They're kind of
from Wolfman, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet, but
not surprised.
but they're both parents, and like their kids like disappear, whatever, like leave.
Okay.
They have this like tie-in website, and it looks pretty cool. It's
Did you say
like
tie-in website.
Yeah, like it's
It
just
like you said Italian website. I was like, what? say weapons in Italian.
It's a weapons.
It's a meatball.
So I guess it had been 2 years ago when Zach Krieger actually announced this movie. And so everybody was kind of excited because they really loved Barbarian. A lot of people liked Barbarian.
Barbarian's freaking great, man. I love that movie. And I love showing it to people who have never seen it before because that first time reaction is gold.
Yeah. So this new movie, it's kind of mysteriously described as a multi- and interrelated horror story epic. It's like in the vein of Magnolia, okay? Did you ever see that with Tom Cruise, like back in the late 90s?
No, but isn't that the movie where it rains frogs?
It is, yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's all I know about it.
Okay. The cast stars Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, Alden Ehrenreich, Benedict Wong, which I think I recognize that name from something.
Oh yeah, it's Marvel stuff right there.
Amy Madigan and Austin Abrams. So Warner Brothers kind of kicking off the marketing campaign with a in-universe website. So like it just shows like a digital alarm clock reading 2:17 a.m. and they're saying it may not seem significant on first glance, but it's creepy. But if you head on over to maybrookmissing.net, the landing page, the headline on the landing page reads, 17 local children leave home simultaneously at 2:17 a.m. So that's kind of the setup. So I guess, back whenever the internet was kind of a newer thing, like a lot of movies would have these like websites that they created for their marketing campaigns. You can go on the website and kind of get some more information about the movie. So there is so Warner Brothers has done this for this movie. It's a .net page, so it's kind of an older website, address, which is kind of cool. So that has images of a child dancing in the street in the dead of night, and there's like a darkly lit house front. There's another link on there to a story entitled "Underground Prison Discovered in Rental Home." So that's kind of saying that this shares the same universe as Barbarian. So that's kind of cool.
Sounds like it.
So we're kind of seeing like these studios taking more gambles with the marketing, kind of with Longlegs and Heretic and The Substance. They're kind of doing more stuff with marketing, which is pretty cool.
Smile was a big one too for the marketing.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna beat Blair Witch, Andy.
Yes.
Best marketing campaign ever. Had all the actors just hide out.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited for this. I love movies that deal about like mass disappearances and stuff like that. And so this is, and like the Legend of the Pied Piper always kind of fascinated me too.
Never heard it.
where the so it's like the Pied Piper is like this dude that this town was like infested with rats, and so, or mice, whatever, rodents, and so this mayor hires this Pied Piper. Basically, he can play this little flute or whatever, and he basically plays the flute and it draws all the rats out. He like leads them all out of the city, and so the city no longer has a rodent problem. But then the mayor double crosses the Piper, says, "Oh, I'm not going to pay you after all." So the Piper actually comes back and he starts playing this different tune and leads all the children out of the city, out of the village, and leads them away, and they don't know whatever happened to the kids.
What?
So,
Where's that movie? Unless that's what. I mean, you just ruined Weapons.
no, I don't think
Pied
so.
Piper.
But no, it's a fairy tale kind of thing. Yeah, folk tale.
Oh, we
whatever,
can't get back into that. Nope.
But there is a Pied Piper. I think there is at least one horror movie based on the Pied Piper, and I think it has Elizabeth Hurley in it. Like, it came out maybe a year or two ago. I don't know. But anyway,
Is that where that phrase comes by? Where someone's playing the Pied Piper? Is that what that is?
Someone's, I guess so, like leading you along, like yeah.
I have to look into that.
But
I never knew.
Yeah. So anyway, so that kind of ties in with this, kind of what the story sounds like, what it's about. So I'm pretty excited about this. I always love like these, like when studios, they don't give you a lot in the teaser trailer and stuff. They kind of just leave it more mysterious, and especially since we like Barbarian a lot, so this one's gonna be good too. I feel like. So
I hope that he doesn't succumb to the same thing that like happened to M. Night Shyamalan, because Barbarian is a really great movie, and it's really hinging itself on looking like one movie and totally becoming a different type of movie. And I hope that's not what people like go to expect now. Like, oh, it's gonna be a big twist or whatever. I'm just saying that out loud so that way I don't fall victim to that.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Maybe this is actually another Marvel movie or something. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't do that.
So, all right. Well, I think I think we've butchered the horror news for this episode. I think we can move on to the main event.
Next.
The main event.
So yeah, we had this idea to change it up a little bit for this episode, do a top 5. So I'm pretty excited, and like I said, this is like top 5 urban horror or horror in the big city, whatever you want to say it. And it's just kind of like stuff that happens in, like in a New York City kind of setting, like where you have skyscrapers, you got subway, and you got what? Not Subway the restaurant, but subways that you ride in, the underground trains, stuff like that. And then also you have like big sewers that people have to crawl around in or something like that. I love that kind of stuff.
We now know Andy's list.
Yeah. So I love that kind of stuff. So, it's just something that gives you that feel, that big city vibe, that big city feel. So I guess, without further ado, I guess we can go ahead and get started with our honorable mentions.
Let's do it. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. Why not?
All right.
So for my honorable mention, this is a movie. It's called Midnight Meat Train, and this came out in the mid 2000s. I want to say like 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. It's got Bradley Cooper in it, and the British dude from like was it Snatch or whatever. And basically what it is Bradley Cooper's a photographer, and he's kind of like on this quest to like he wants to make these photographs with some really dark subject matter. And so he rides around on the subway because that's kind of more of a dangerous area or whatever. And so he takes pictures of when crimes are happening and stuff like that. And there was like one scene where he actually there's like this gang, and they are like he photographs them doing something, and like they kind of walk up to him like they're going to, like he's a witness, and he's like, hey, I got my camera, I'm taking pictures of you guys. So then they just walk on because they know that they're on camera. So it's really kind of some intense situations. But anyway, he notices that there's this big dude that rides the subway, and starts following this guy, and it's played by Vinnie Jones, who he's a big dude that's been featured in movies like Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, stuff like that. He was. You said Road Trip?
No, Euro Trip.
Euro Trip.
Yeah, crazy soccer guy. Yeah.
So it kind of seems like it's kind of falls into this like serial killer territory. It's like, okay, what's going on here? And then as the movie goes along, we find out what's really going on. And so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Have you seen this one, Dave?
I have. I saw it when it came out strictly because it's a Clive Barker property, right?
Exactly, it is. And
so
if
you know what you're getting with Clive Barker.
Yeah, so if you kind of know about Clive Barker, you kind of know the twist, or kind of know the direction that he goes in with his stuff. So I just had to throw it in there. Like, it's one that I think that maybe not a lot of people know about. I don't know. Maybe people know. Maybe people do know about it. I guess it's a fairly popular movie, I guess, but I don't feel like people talk about it that much. So I just wanted to bring it up as my honorable mention.
That's cool. That's the point of an honorable mention, man. I love hearing about it too. I did some research, to try to figure out what movies I wanted to put on my list, and that one popped up probably like 1 out of 100 lists that I saw, and it made me stop and think about it. And I've only seen that movie once or maybe twice, but definitely when it came out on DVD, I watched it and then maybe showed it to a friend. But I think some of the biggest things I took away from it was it just never ceases to amaze me how a Clive Barker movie always goes there, and you know where I'm talking about when I say there, things get bloody. But and that was definitely before the main actor, what was his name again?
Bradley Cooper.
Right, it's before he peaked, because Bradley Cooper's kind of a huge name now. I mean, he went on to do Guardians of the Galaxy and some other movies.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of other movies. He's a big Philadelphia Eagles fan. I always see him on TV when the Eagles are playing. And that's cool. It's always cool when celebrities show up, in my opinion, to see what teams people like. But that's a great honorable mention. And I'm going to tell you about my honorable mention because it's Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And I had to get it out there because obviously hopefully that comes to your mind every time you think of big city. You'd mention New York City, Manhattan, you're right there. It's like the first time we take Jason out of the woods, and so it's kind of polarizing. And it's called Jason Takes Manhattan. It could have been called Jason Takes a Cruise Ship to Manhattan and eventually gets there in the third act and he's in Manhattan for 30 minutes. That would be a better title for the movie. But you know what? Even though, that's what makes it an honorable mention for me, is because not a lot of it takes place in the city, but when he does get there, and I love this movie, and I love all the kills on the cruise ship. It's actually a fascinating setting, but what does it for me, man, is when Jason reaches Manhattan, and there's that shot of him at Times Square is phenomenal, and it's so surreal to see him in that setting, and when he takes on some of the street thugs, it's priceless, but because it didn't have too much city, that's what made it an honorable mention.
Yeah, this is one that I kind of wrestled with. I was like, man, should I put it on my list? I was like, nah. I was like, I'll keep it off because I know, it's technically, like you said, it has like scenes, and I know a lot of people were disappointed in this movie because they thought the whole thing was gonna be in the city, and when, like you said, it was just kind of the last part of the movie, some people were disappointed. But I love this movie too. It's definitely a great pick. I'm glad that you brought it up. Because I could definitely sit down and watch this movie anytime.
It also has a killer soundtrack.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I like that one song that we
yeah.
There was some award show that we were part of.
We did, didn't we? Yes.
Yeah.
That was the Creatures Features podcast. If anybody knows Chunky Larry out there, Andy and I have guested on his show before, and we requested a certain song to play. And I love 80s hair metal, and you thought it was a groovy tune as well. And so, of course, we picked that song.
Yeah, it's cool.
If anybody wants to know, I think it's the opening credits and the ending credits. So you can go YouTube it and check it out.
Yeah. All right, well, time to get into our top fives here. So, number 5 for me is I had mentioned Sewers earlier, and so this one definitely features sewers a lot. And this is Alligator, and it's an early '80s monster movie. This is actually one that I saw some of it when I was a kid, so it really just kind of stuck with me. And I sought it out as an adult, and this is a really cool one. It's basically the setup is. You've got a pharmaceutical company that is they're doing chemical testing on dogs, And whenever the dogs die, instead of disposing of the bodies the proper way, they pay some low-life guy to just dump them in the sewers. Well, along with this, you have people like, I think this happened more probably like in the 70s days, but people would go to these festivals or whatever, and people would be selling like these, maybe they may be selling like these exotic pets or something. So like this little girl, she buys this little baby alligator, and she gets him home, and and then I think the dad is just like, no, we can't have this, and flushes the baby alligator down the toilet. And I think she names the alligator
Ramon.
Ramon, that's right, yeah. And so she thinks that he died, that Ramon died, and she's the little girl's sad. And so fast forward, we have this alligator that's living in the sewer because it got flushed down the toilet. But then it's also feeding off of the bodies of these dogs that were subjected to this chemical test. Or these like drug trials or whatever. And so the alligator eats these dogs, and it grows to this giant size. So it's like this mutated giant alligator.
Totally believable.
Yeah, so that's kind of the premise of the story. We have a guy, we have like a detective that's kind of the main hero of the story, I guess. And I think I don't remember how he, obviously there's like murders and stuff. And man, I remember there's this one scene though where it involves a swimming pool, and that always freaked me out.
That is the best part of that movie because you don't expect it to happen, and it happens.
Yeah. But I know you've seen this one, too, Dave. So what do you think about it?
I have seen it. I think it's great because it's also my number 5.
Oh, awesome.
So we're off to a really great start here. Alligator was one I wasn't going to put on my list because I knew it would be on yours. But when I switched gears, I decided to throw it back on my list. And I even gave it a rewatch because Julie has never seen it. And so I showed it to her. And I still love this movie. But after the most recent rewatch, I found it towards the bottom of this list. And so that's why it's my number 5. So I'm glad it's yours too, because that actually is kind of cool. But yeah, man, you got an alligator named Ramon that is just large, and everybody has at least one favorite, like killer crocodile or alligator movie. You got your Lake Placid, you got Killer Crocodile from the 70s, but this is an 80s movie, and you introduced this to me, and this movie kind of has a special place in my heart because this was the first 80s horror movie you and I reviewed together back in the days, Pop Culture Podcast days. And so, yeah, man, I love this movie because, yes, that swimming pool scene, it's got a photographer in it named Bart, who I really like because I used to watch him on Match Game all the time. But also has Robert Forster in one of his most iconic roles, at least if you're a horror fan, because he's in this and Uncle Sam. Those are the movies I always remembered him for. But who doesn't love a giant alligator with practical effects? And I think you and I did some research, and we found out that, like, Kane Hodder was even attached to Alligator 1 and 2, as credited the alligator. And so I'm trying to picture like Kane Hodder with like the claw arms or maybe swinging the tail around. I really don't know. I've never watched any special features on the making of, but yeah, this movie is really cool, and it was so hard to watch back in the day, but now it's on Tubi, and so if no one's seen it, I highly recommend it. If you love 80s creature features, this is a good one.
Oh, that's cool. I'm so glad it's on Tubi because, like, for the longest time, like, the DVD was out of, like, they had this DVD come out, like, in the early 2000s. It went out of print, even though I was able to buy the DVD at that time, so I had it, but it went out of print, and it was like really hard to see, but now I'm glad it's online for streaming.
Yeah, I think that's because like Vinegar Syndrome and all these other guys, Arrow and all that, have been going back and grabbing rare films like this one and then kind of helping it see the light of the day, and so once it's uploaded, then you can stream it. And I don't really care for Alligator 2, if I'm being honest. And there's much more city in part 1, so obviously part 1 has to make the list. But dude, come on. When those kids are playing baseball and he like busts out of the concrete, phenomenal scene.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, that was great.
I can't believe it looked as good as it did. They had to use models or something, but totally sold it.
Oh yeah, it was great. Well, I guess we're ready for my number 4. Hopefully this isn't the same as your number 4, but we'll see. So my number 4 is Mimic from like late 90s, I think. This has Mira Sorvino and Charles Dutton. I think he was also in it, and Josh Brolin. I know we mentioned him a little while ago, but he is also in this movie. But yeah, it's got anyway. Basically, it's about. Oh, this is directed by Guillermo del Toro, which that's really cool. But this, like I said, came out in '97, and it basically there's this like disease that it's like this disease that's kind of spreading among the kids, and it's actually being spread by cockroaches.
Yes.
And so this doctor, she basically genetically creates a bug that will go in. It's called the Judas bug, and it's another form of cockroach, and it goes in there, and she lets it loose among the cockroaches of the city, and it will actually go in and kill all the cockroaches. So it basically did its job and
kill the cockroaches,
killed all the cockroaches, and all the kids are better, or whatever. People, the disease stopped spreading anyway. And fast forward, like, I don't know, a number of years later, and we find out that this Judas bug that she created, it didn't die off like it was supposed to. It actually evolved like really rapidly, and it gained the ability to impersonate a person or make you think it's a person. Like if you see it just like going down the street, you'll think it's a person standing there and stuff. But this is a really cool movie. I remember seeing it when I was a teenager. This is one of those monster movies that just really, stuck with me. The monster design is really cool. I think there's like some CG, but it's not bad. I think there's some practical effects too. The bugs look cool. There's a lot of just cool like underground scenes, like in the subway and kind of in these like abandoned tunnels and stuff like that. So I really dug it. Have you seen this one, Dave?
I have seen it, but it's been such a long time. This is one that I remember when Scream 1 and 2 were out on VHS, there was always, because it was Miramax, there was always a trailer for Mimic, and it got me really interested, and I did rent it on VHS and watch it, and I remember liking it, and who doesn't like Charles S. Dutton, right? Alien 3 and stuff, good guy.
Oh, yeah.
Gothika. But, yeah, man, no, I remember liking it, but dude, again, I have not seen this in over 20, 25 years. It's crazy. It's definitely something I got to revisit, but I know our pal Neil Fraser loves Mimic, and he's seen all three of them. Have you seen the trilogy?
Strangely enough, I have. Yeah, I mean, I've only seen the second and third one like one time, so I don't remember too much about them. But I have seen those movies. Yeah, like part 3 is a really weird movie. It's kind of it's almost like a take on Rear Window, but like.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So anyway.
Man, you're putting that in good company. I love Rear Window.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Good number 4, man. I'm happy to say that that movie is not on my list today. So there we go. But I'll tell you what is. My number 4 is from 2014. It's The Purge: Anarchy. And so the reason that one's on my list is because if you've seen the original film, that one is very secluded, basically in a house the whole time with a family. And so to have the sequel come out and it be kind of on a grander scale, the sequel is set on the streets of LA, and people get stuck outside during Purge night with nowhere to go and nothing to defend themselves. And I remember seeing the first. I gotta be careful how I say it because the first Purge is a different movie. Seeing the original Purge and thinking it was a cool concept, but then this one seemed legit scary to me because you're trapped outside with nowhere to go and everybody's out to kill you. And it does what needs to be done in a sequel where, I mentioned a grander scale, but like the stakes are even higher and everything is amplified and over imagined, and that specifically means the way that you get killed, and they do some pretty cool things. And though The Purge: Anarchy is not my favorite of the Purge films, I chose to put that one on the list because going from just a single house to the streets of LA, I thought really showcased horror in the big city, and it was pretty scary.
Yeah, I have to say I haven't seen this one. The only Purge movie I've seen is the first Purge. Yeah, the one
which is my favorite. Yeah, go figure. And I really wanted to put that one on my list, but that one is more. It just has a less of a city vibe and more of just like the kind of like, how do I say this? Naturally, I'm like the ghetto, but basically it focuses on a smaller area.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool pick, though. I mean, I'm gonna have to check these movies out, I think, for sure. So moving on to my number 3, it's The Relic. This came out, another 1997 movie that came out. I think there must have been something with monster movies at that time of year.
There was something in the water.
Yeah. This one was directed by Peter Hyams, who also did he did Outland with Sean Connery, did Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and also 2010, the year we made contact.
Yes.
Never seen it, but it also stars Tom Sizemore, Penelope Ann Miller, Linda Hunt, which you would recognize Linda Hunt from. She's been in a lot of stuff. She's in NCIS Los Angeles, like the little short lady with glasses. She was in Kindergarten Cop.
So was Penelope Ann Miller. They were both in Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, so basically, this is like this movie is actually based off of a novel called The Relic. So I read the novel, and then the movie came out. So I was super excited to go see the movie. And but basically, it's about this. It's in Chicago, I think. Chicago Museum. They have an exhibit on superstitions, and they get this shipment of like basically the exhibits about different folklore and mythology from different cultures around the world, and so they get this little statue from some jungle place like Congo or something like that. I don't know exactly what jungle it's from, but anyway, they get this statue in for their exhibit, and once the statue arrives at the museum, then people start getting killed one by one by this monster, and it's something that is living. So it's like in the city. This is like something that's living underground, and it comes up into the museum and it kills people. And we have scenes in the city. We have scenes in the sewer. I don't think we have any subways though, but anyway, it really gives me that kind of big city feeling that I'm going for, and also just it's a really cool monster movie.
It is a great monster movie. I have not seen this in such a long time, and I was just talking to Julie about it the other day because I had a feeling it might be on your list, and I know that it's one of your favorite monster movies of that time period, but also this movie holds a special place in my heart because this was either the first or second horror movie I ever saw in theater, because I saw it a week apart from Scream, where this one was in the big theater and Scream was in the dollar theater, and I can't for the life of me remember which one was fucking first. But anyway, shout out to my aunt if she hears this episode. But I love this movie. Though I haven't seen it in so long, so my memory of it isn't as good, because I remember all the scenes with the museum, but it wasn't until just now when you talked about something. Isn't this the one where I think they show it in the trailer? I won't give away too much, but they're kind of like going through, I don't know if it's a sewer or whatever, but it's water, dude, and it's like waist high level, and you got the cop in the front or the cop in the back, and then all the citizens are in the middle, and they're trying to get like through like underground, and then monsters are like pulling you down, and people are like getting rose up, and that was pretty scary because I got a fear with water. But man, that memory didn't click until you just said what you said, and so now I'm kind of excited to go back and rewatch it. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool scene in that with the water and stuff.
I told Julie, I think one of my biggest fears of rewatching this movie is I remember when I saw it, it was mind-blowing because we were in 90s CGI, and it wasn't as popular as it was going forward past the 2000s and everything, and CGI kind of got dumb for a while, but in this time period where they were still like using it in the horror movie, but using it lightly, I couldn't for the life of me figure out how they made that monster in that movie. Now I can, but I'm kind of afraid to go back and rewatch it because I don't know if the effects hold up.
Yeah, I watched it. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I feel like they do. But that's okay.
Suspension of disbelief, man. I'm just watching it anyway. It's a good movie.
Yeah,
cool. Great number 4. Well, that was your number 3, right?
Yeah.
Good. So don't hold it against me, man. I like your number 4 too. So, but let me tell you about my number 3, because when you talk about horror in the big city, there's always like the few that come to mind. We talk about New York. You already dropped Chicago. There's another one that's really big, and it's London.
Oh yeah.
And so my number 3, it's not what probably immediately comes to some people's minds when I say London.
Okay.
It's from 2021. It's a more modern film.
Oh.
Last Night in Soho.
Interesting. Okay.
So, Last Night in Soho is a movie that totally took me by storm. I remember after I watched it, I told you had got to see this movie, because this movie is one where you see the trailer and it's weird. You can't really tell if it's a horror movie or not. Then after I watched it, I'm like, that's a total fucking horror movie. Like, I loved where it went. It went to darker places and had darker content than I imagined. It even had some like creepy things going on. But Soho is kind of like the red light district of London, so to speak. But this movie sets itself a lot in the 1960s. And so you get to see London in the 60s where they're doing a lot of it's shady things going on, but also it's like the place to be because the entertainment is building and there's like swing clubs and everything. But this movie was directed by Edgar Wright, who, you know, he did like Shaun of the Dead and Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And so I didn't really have a lot of hope or expectation for it. I'm like, I don't know, man, because those were comedies, and I saw the trailer for this. I'm like, I can't tell if this is a thriller or if it's just one of those weird mindfuck type movies. But I watched it, and I was so happy because, you know, I'm 40. You're just a little older than me, but we're both in that bracket where we talk about today's horror and how much it's changed, and we miss the movies we grew up with. This was a pleasant surprise. This was a new horror movie that made me really excited, and it's one I put in my basket if someone's like, hey, what's a modern horror movie that you recommend? Last Night in Soho. So, yeah, my number 3.
Wow, yeah, I've never seen this one, and I remember you talking about it. Now I feel bad that I haven't seen it, because I remember you specifically were like, you got to see this, and I kind of dropped the ball on that, but I definitely will check it out. Because, you know, it's got some great talent in it. You said sure Edgar Wright. You know, I really like Scott Pilgrim. So that movie cracks me up. And yeah, so I'm definitely have to check this one out.
Cool.
Okay, so my number 2 is, funny enough, Predator 2 from 1990. So
I forgot all about that, dude.
Yeah, so this is a Predator movie, but it happens in the big city, and I think it's like Los Angeles or whatever. But you have some, you know, nice. You got like the subway set pieces. You got some skyscraper looking things. You got back alleys. You got like drug dealers fighting against the Predator. You got these government agents that are trying to hunt him down and stuff. So it's really cool. You got Danny Glover as the main person. You got Gary Busey. You got Kevin Peter Hall, of course, playing the Predator. You also have Bill Paxton. You know, as he gets killed by the Predator, along with all the other monsters that he gets killed by. So, yeah. So, Robert Davi, he's a captain. He's a police captain. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of familiar people in this movie as I'm looking through the credits. A lot of people
I like how you're trying to sell it to me. You're like, it's Predator in the big city going up against drug dealers. It's got Danny Glover and Gary Busey. And I'm just like, who wants to see this movie? But it's actually a fun movie. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know what the general impression of, you know, people's opinions are of it. I think many people think it's like a step down from the original, which, yeah, maybe it is. But I really like it. I think it's a fun movie. It's a popcorn movie, you know. It's something I could throw on anytime.
For sure, and it's always good to see those guys in there. I make fun at it, but I actually really specifically remember a Gary Busey scene that was kind of like, I didn't expect it to happen when it happened, and it was quite cool when it happened. But I love Danny Glover. Like, hey, that's Saul royalty right there, bro. Oh
yeah, for sure.
All right, you ready for my number 2?
Yeah, what you got?
My number 2 takes us, either leaves us or takes us back to New York City, and it's, you know, we love our New York grimy and gritty movies.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's the first one that pops in your head, but this one is actually from 1982. It's Basket Case.
Oh, Basket Case. Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, and so, you know, Basket Case is an interesting movie. It's kind of demented in a way because it's so unusual. It's about a couple of brothers who got... Well, it's about a guy named Dwayne, and he's moving into a hotel, you know, on the streets of New York City. Again, gritty, grimy 80s, and he's always carrying around a wicker box, and you have no fucking idea what it is. And here's what it is. It's his brother, who was like a Siamese twin that was attached at his side, where it was just the head and some arms. And so there was some doctors that, even though they didn't ask for it, the parents thought it was a good idea to separate the two twins. And so the brother was supposed to be killed, but didn't happen. And so Dwayne and his brother, who gets carried around in a wicker basket, are essentially adults now, and they decide they're going to go and kill all the doctors that separated them. And if you want to see kind of a batshit crazy movie, this is one for you. There's 3 of these. I actually have only seen the first one, but I need to get on the ball and see part 2 and 3 because I think the same actor reprises his role through all 3 of them. But my goodness, this movie is a good time, and I've seen it more than once, and it still stays just as good as when I watched it the first time. What do you think of my pick of Basket Case?
Yeah, this is a great pick. Sadly, it's not on my list. I don't know, yeah, I think I thought about it for a minute, but I was like, there's some other movies I like a little bit more. But yeah, this is a great movie, and it's Frank Henenlotter, and he did some other movies too. But yeah, this is a cool. The special effects weren't bad for the time. I
love this scene with the scalpels, and that's all I'll say. But that was a polarizing scene. When it happened, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, this is a really cool movie, and it does give you that down and dirty, like New York City kind of feeling. Yeah, so yeah, this is like the New York of the 80s.
It is. There's some interesting people that you get to meet that are doing interesting things that live in his. We call it a hotel, right? It's not a motel. It's a hotel.
Yeah, it's like one of those.
It's got the neon sign that always flickers, and people are like, "How much for a room? How many nights you stay in?" Like everybody knows the kind of places we're talking about.
It's like it's weird. It's like people. It's a hotel, but people actually live there. So yeah, I don't know. So anyway, it's just
these people always have their windows open. You always hear the police alarms at night, and it's always raining. Like we know this type of New York, but I think I was just so blown away by the way that obviously there's like an animatronic and a puppetry, and then I think there's even a claymation or a stop motion or something that they do to really bring this character to life, because you do see this character, and once you see the brother, like you see him a lot more going forward. They kind of hide it for a while, but even though I described it to you as such, when you see it, you're actually like, that doesn't look quite bad. And then the way that the story goes, it goes to some places where you're like, what is happening right now? And you can't take your eyes off the screen because you're like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? And you totally are. And if people are familiar with this director, I think he also did Frankenhooker?
Oh yeah.
And so you kind of know what to expect with the crazy stuff. But yeah, my number 2 had to do it. Basket Case.
Yeah, that's a great pick. All right, so for my number 1, I think,
and possibly my number 1. Don't let me down.
Yeah, I have a feeling you probably know what my number 1 is. And it is Chud from 1984.
That is also my number 1. We love this movie.
Beneath the city of New York are living catacombs, an endless maze of subterranean tunnels, unfit for anything human. Unauthorized for anything experimental.
Hold it! There's something moving up ahead in the tunnel!
And unlikely to bring anyone down there. So, they're coming up. Chud. Chud, check your basement and your bathroom. Keep off the street and try to hide. But remember, the dark is their place. The night is their time. And tomorrow, the only things living in the city of New York will be Chud. Chud. Cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers. Chud. They're not staying down there anymore.
Yeah, this is for like horror of the big city, monster movie in the big city. This is probably got to be the go-to. You get sewers, you get skyscraper, you like that inner city feel. You get I don't know if there's subways, but yeah, there is subways because that's how they get to the like the old abandoned tunnels and stuff. And so yeah, I mean this is has a cool setting. The monsters look really cool. The special effects are great. You got, for anybody that doesn't know, it's basically about a photographer and a guy that runs a soup kitchen. They kind of stumble upon this kind of like a government conspiracy thing, but but the police are also dealing with these cases of homeless people just going missing, and one of the police detectives' wife also goes missing. So that's when the attention really gets put on this case. And it turns out the homeless people are changing into these creatures. We don't quite know why, but it ties into the government conspiracy stuff. So yeah, the special effects are really cool. You have John Hurd, Daniel Stern, yeah. So you definitely, and you have a cameo with John Goodman, and
yes.
So that's really cool to see that. But yeah, just a fun movie. I mean, this is one of those ones that I saw like on a Saturday afternoon when I was a kid, and it just really stuck with me. Like, just probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah,
came out in 1984, right in the heart of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I mean, look, because it's also my number one, I'm going to join in on the fun. Like, just from the beginning, when you see that there's like manhole covers that are being lifted up and you just see creature claws coming out, like, I'm already in. And I love it because for the first half of this movie, they really give you the whole like less is more vibe. When you first kind of see these monsters, like their eyes are glowing yellow, but you don't get the full scale of what the monster looks like. But man, when it's like raining and dark outside and you have a glowing eye monster coming out of the sewer, you have people in a phone booth about to get attacked. And like you keep mentioning the apartment building, like it blew my mind that apartment building could have a basement, but I guess that's me living in Texas and still trying to understand what basements are. But man, when they go into the basements and it's like homeless people are living in the railways and the sewers and the subway, you're like, why would people do that? But man, like, you can kind of see a lot of space down there, and they're building these catacombs and everything. But dude, once we start getting into like the practical effects, and it's just like, wait, is the government testing on bums and homeless people? It gets so good. And I love the young Daniel Stern. Like, he seems really cool.
Yeah, for sure. He plays a really good character. I mean,
the Reverend.
Yeah, and him and John Hurd, they're not really like, they're kind of doing their own separate investigations, but they kind of end up teaming up together like at the end, and even the police are doing their own investigation. And so it's interesting. You kind of have these different stories that kind of intertwine with each other. Yeah, and so it's really cool, man. It's great effects. I think it was decent acting. You've got some people that were probably really homeless people that they just brought in on the as actors. I feel like, and or if they didn't, I mean, these people are really good actors, so I don't know.
They acted homeless. But no, and we also get really great scenes in like the New York Police Department. So this movie kind of shows all different aspects of the city life, and that's why it's a great choice, not only for a list like this, but to be number one, because it's kind of like the granddaddy of them all, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. There was no way this was gonna not be number one on my list.
Yeah, I was getting ready to like. I'm looking for the term to say, like, unpodcast you. I'm like, if this ain't your number one, I'm done.
Yeah,
but this should be everybody's number one. It's great.
Yeah, you're going to throw a chair into something. Yeah.
That's right.
But, yeah, cool, man. Well, I think there wasn't too many. I mean, there was some surprises that we didn't have as. We had some crossover, but not that much. So we still had.
Just the bookends, number 5, number 1.
So we definitely had some additional movies and movies that I haven't seen, so I'm excited to check those out. And some movies that you hadn't seen for a long time, so that was cool. So
something to revisit.
Yeah. So that's a lot of fun. I mean, definitely up to doing more top 5s in the future.
Yep, same here, man. And if listeners have some ideas of top 5s that they want us to do, let us know. We have the socials out there. You guys can find us on TikTok. You guys can find us on Facebook. It's just at Screaming Skull or at Screaming Skull Pod, depending where it's at. And, we continue to have fun interacting with you guys. And we got some special episodes coming up in the near future because Andy and I are going to be attending a horror convention and broing out all weekend, watching horror movies, eating bad fast food, and recovering as 40-year-olds do the next week and hating our lives. But until then, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Maybe we'll find a weird antique store, too, while we're there.
You know it.
Yeah. All right. So that wraps up this episode. Until next time, I'm Abnormal Andy.
And I'm Phantom Dark Dave.
And thanks for listening to the Screaming Skull Podcast.